Hi guys, welcome to the Saving Money Show. Me, your host, Sean. Today we're talking about Gevo and their rise and whether or not we've missed the boat. Well, I'm sure you've heard Gevo have received a $1.5 billion contract. You've had over 1 billion shares traded in a day for a company that has pretty much only 100 million to 1 billion shares. That's quite a feat. Now we're going to look at the pros, the cons, and let you decide. Before we start, we'll look at a news clip about why it has suddenly risen 232%, and then we'll go into it.
Hello and welcome back to Proactive New York. I'm Christine Corrado. With me right now is Patrick Gruber, CEO at Gevo. Patrick, it's great to see you. How are you?
Hey, it's good to be here again. Thank you.
Patrick, you look quite happy today as you have won your largest contract in the history of Gevo. What can you tell us about this new customer?
Well, Trafigura is one of the world's largest energy trading companies, and they see that there's a need for renewable gasoline, alkylate. It's the main component of gasoline, and that's, of course, what we make. And I think we're the only company with a technology that can do such a thing at a large scale. So it's great to have them, and this contract is the biggest one we've ever done. And with Trafigura, along with Delta, and Haltermann Carless is also a renewable gasoline contract, that puts us over $1.5 billion of revenue in take-or-pay contracts. That's pretty substantial, and that should help us get financing.
Very substantial. Can you maybe talk a bit about how you plan to scale production to actually reach these goals to service these contracts?
Sure. So right now we have under contract with take-or-pays over 50 million gallons. That's bigger than our Laverne plant could ever produce. So we've already engaged in locating other sites. We have two other plant sites under LOI in addition to Laverne. And then we're working with Citigroup to arrange the financing. And we're in the midst of that process. But it makes it, of course, much more credible when you have someone like a Trafigura as the off-taker under a take-or-pay.
So Trafigura and these other contracts that you mentioned, this one with Praj Industries, what's the agreement with Praj that you have?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So Praj has been working with our technology to adapt it for use in Indian sugar mills. So using molasses or sugar. They also are doing some work with rice straw. Interestingly enough, and in that press release, people might have noticed that it's the Indian Air Force is the one behind it. They're the ones creating the pull and organization in India. India economy, isn't something that can generally, afford a premium product like something like we make. However, it's a strategic interest for them. They want to be able to make homegrown jet fuel. That's the reason. And it's the Indian Air Force, and I'm grateful to them for causing the pull.
Yeah, lots of great contracts that you have here. I just want to ask you a question about your recent Q2 earnings. We did see revenue fall to 1 million from 5.1 million. So how will these new contracts contribute to top line growth moving forward?
Well, what we did is we shut down our ethanol plant. And of course, with the ethanol plant, there goes that revenue, but it was losing money. So it made sense to shut it down. And we don't see a reason to turn it back on. Now, we've continued selling gasoline and jet fuel. We've continued that, and that's what the revenues are due to. And we only have a small scale production for that. Going forward, we're taking the role of a project developer. In other words, we're organizing the projects, arranging the financing, doing the engineering work, getting it all set up, and then working to get it financed. As that happens, we get paid for doing that. And that's where the revenues would come from for us. And we should be able to see those next year is what I would expect.
Any other contracts you might be able to hint at, or is this kind of the latest?
Oh, we're not done. Oh, no, we're not done. Oh, no, not yet. We're not done. It's going to be interesting. I think we're getting momentum. And it's gaining credibility. People understand that this renewable gasoline thing is real. I mean, how else do you replace that much a gallon of gasoline, right? Well, you got to have the actual gasoline itself.
Well, you heard it yourself. We're going to go through the company, and we're going to talk about, firstly, how they were pre-contract, because the contract's a new thing. Basically, the pros, they were trading at 64.3% below value. Revenue forecast was to grow 16% per year. The cons, they had less than 1 year cash runway. Shareholders have been heavily diluted in the past year. They were unprofitable. At a volatile share price, they were forced to shut down a plant that was losing money. No, they don't just make the fuel. They don't make the fuel. They process the fuel. They also advise. They service certain parts, like new machines, that because you can't just put a new fuel into current engines, they won't all take it, so you need to have consultants to see whether or not they'll take it. Otherwise it'd be like putting diesel in a gas engine and vice versa. Most new planes will, but not all of them will. However, some of the older ones won't, without certain alterations. As well as that, they are a commodities broker. That's where they make a bulk of their money. They have dropped 96% before this, from over £3. So you see they're still down on their position from their height a year ago. They are currently sitting at, since their rise, they're currently sitting at support of 160, resistance of 220. Now, we're gonna kind of do a basic looking at the company. Obviously, it operates in fuel and the processing of fuel. People primarily for jet planes. Of course, no one's been flying this past year. Those that have been very little, so there's been no demand, so they've been losing money. Now, you can see there has big drop and a bit of a rally when the rest of the plane stocks were rallying, and then a further drop. Now we will start with the financials. I always like to start there, and the income, you can see how it's been getting worse. See, people are getting FOMO over this, fear of missing out, and I don't like to do that. It's okay, everyone has FOMO. Even traders have FOMO. They have so much FOMO, fear of missing out on the trades, they don't look into other areas such as real estate. So it's about whether or not you act on it. You can see their liabilities for the moment before the contract. Right, so total liabilities are 20 million and total assets 80 million. And one thing to note is that the liabilities are increasing and their assets are decreasing. And that is happening year on year. Sorry, quarter on quarter. You had one quarter before crash where it rose, but other than that, but then you can expect that with a Rona. They have $6.3 million cash on hand. Now, this contract was instigated by the Indian Air Force. Now, it's not just for the fuel, it's also consulting, because the Indian Air Force want to know how to make their own fuel, renewable fuel. So once they find out how to make their own renewable air fuel, they will not need to buy renewable air fuel off of them anymore. So it will be a one-time contract, but they will have to provide the service to them. However, it isn't all bad news. Don't consider me like doom and gloom all the time, because the share price, book value per share, when you can see that it's under the book value. It's always good to buy something under book value. And there is another thing that no one seems to be talking about, and they're speaking about other contracts. They're speaking about Delta. They're speaking about, I won't even try to pronounce it. Knowing me, I'll come up with Tropicana. But anyway, no one's speaking, and no one has said it except for me during this whole period since the COVID-19 came out, that there's an airplane company that the French government have given 20 billion to on the condition they go into renewable energy and they make their they go green, which means they need renewable fuel. Now, Airbus, Boeing's biggest competitor, now when they're testing these things, they need renewable fuel. Otherwise, they need to spend a massive amount on things like solar panels, hydrogen, and all the rest, or they will lose half of the money given to them by French government. And I'm not saying they will do a contract with these guys, with Gevo. They could do a contract with anyone who does jet fuel, but you heard it from the guy himself. They're one of the biggest, one of the best, one of the first at doing renewable jet fuel. The others are still in the testing phase. Now, the reason I'm not FOMOing over the company is you have a company that's received a contract that brings in $1.5 billion. Massive, I know, but they can't handle it. So what do they have to do? They have signed letter of intent for 2 new plants, and they have to get financing for more plants. So that 1.5 billion is going to be gobbled up just on the plants, and then you've got to pay the labour. Now that's all well and good. That means you're expanding, it means you're growing, and it's being paid for by a contract, but at the same time, if you don't get more contracts, then you're delaying, you're going down. If these other contracts come, you're well set up. You know, it's a bit like Workhorse and Lordstown Motors. You know, having everything in place, and SHOL having everything in place before the contracts roll in, and then hoping they roll in. Now, if it comes down to 160, I will be picking some up. I've been asked a few questions about picking them up. For me, it's shot up too quick to go heavy in it. I will not dissuade you from going and putting in, purely because it is below book value. But you know, well, they have gone a long time. They've spent a long time going sideways. And now people are looking at a 5-year chart when sorry, and don't forget to hit that lovely like button, almost as lovely as me. Helps with the YouTube algorithm and getting the video out to more people. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Become part of the Saving Money Show family. We give each other hints and tips and updates about stocks and shares we talk about on the show. As well as that, you can ask me to look into any share you want, and I don't charge a Discord fee or ask for a Patreon. All I do ask is for you to comment in the box below and hit the like button. Even if you disagree with me, especially if you disagree with me, I like a debate. And if I do something wrong, I want you to call me on it so I can improve the channel. And why not check out the links in the description below? There's lots of offers. I've used each one of them myself. I wouldn't give you links if I haven't checked them out myself. If you're looking for a free trading platform which will trade your stocks and shares, you know, you can get a free share worth up to £200 for signing up and depositing a small amount. A free trade only requires a £1 deposit. The others require £100 or dollars, depending on which one you go for. Stake has over 3,500 US stocks on their books, which is the biggest one outside of the US. Whereas Trading 212 is one of the best and easiest platforms to use. But as I said, I use all three. Anyway, on with the show. People were looking at a 5-year chart when it was like $800 a share. And you got to remember that, and when it was, look at that, but That was on this IPO, and you've got to remember it's been going down since. And when it was there, it was the height of oil rush. You know, all the oil companies were a lot more, and at the time they were just a commodities broker, and they were processing normal jet fuel as well. So, which was highly expensive. Other people are looking at it here and thinking it can get back there, they can double their money. And maybe they can, but what I see is this going straight up, and anytime you see this going straight up, it usually comes straight back down. Remember Genius Brands had a similar effect. That's not the only one. It always happens, and people say but this, you know. The one saving grace this has, in my opinion, is below the book value. It's the one positive. I'm not saying that the contract isn't a positive, but the contract, the money for the contract is going to get swallowed up in costs. The other thing is, it's not still going straight up, it's going in a sideways upwards pattern. So my advice would be putting 10%, if you're going to put in money, put in 10% of what you were planning to put in, 10 to 20%. Then if it goes down, you can average down. If it goes up, you can average up. But it's your money. You can dump everything in if you want. I will not judge you. I will not dissuade you. This is your money, your risk. I'm only saying what I would do. Anyway, see you in the next video. Stay safe, stay savvy, stay investing. Goodbye.